Hello, welcome to the video. This is Guitar Hacker. I did this video as a request from a viewer. It's basically how to record or listen to or jam with two guitars and Reaper at the same time. You can do a dual guitar setup. You can do a vocal and an acoustic setup. You can use different effects and different tones on each one. You can pan. You can do pretty much whatever you want. And it's actually pretty extraordinarily easy to do, and I'm hoping I'm answering the right question to the viewer. I think this is what they wanted me to show them, but nonetheless, let's go ahead and get this going, and let's find out how to do this. Let's get right into it. Okay, the first thing that you need to do, and this is assuming that you have this already set up. Reaper's already on your computer. Your interface is plugged in. All you really need to do for this is insert guitar 1 into the first input, which would be the one on the left where it says guitar 1. Insert the second guitar input into guitar 2, which is obviously the next one on the right. And this is very important too. Don't forget this. When you do this, if you look down below, you'll see a switch that says line and instrument. When you're using a guitar or bass or anything where you're plugging directly into it with a 1/4-inch cable, you always want to use the instrument input. You never want to use the line input. The only time you want to use the line input switch for recording is if you're using a microphone or you're using a line level source like a keyboard that has a 1/4-inch output, drum machine, etc., and so forth. Whenever you're recording a live instrument like guitars, you always want to have this bottom switch on the bottom there next to the scarlet inputs. You want to have that switch to instrument. Once you have your guitars plugged in and you have your volume up on your guitars, just go ahead and check your levels. Make sure you're in the green. You don't even ever venture into the yellow unless you absolutely have to, which you normally don't. And the reason for that is it'll give you digital distortion, which you don't want, and it'll kind of color the signal. So having your guitars plugged in and having your levels set, and also just if you're just recording two guitars, ignore that red light. Make sure that's off. Always have the 48-volt off if you're plugging two instruments into your interface. I doubt it's going to do any damage to a guitar, but if you plug a non-condenser microphone into these things and you turn on that 48-volt switch, it's going to fry the microphone. So keep that in mind when you do that. And also, another note, the direct monitor button down here on the bottom right-hand side, I always leave mine to off. I've never had a problem recording or playing back or listening or monitoring or anything with that switch off. I'm not even sure what that does. I think it sends a signal right into the headphones or something, and sometimes, depending on your computer setup, it can give you kind of latency, and that's something that you really don't want because it will affect your playing. But nonetheless, again, just make sure you got one guitar plugged into one side, one guitar plugged into the other side, set your levels, and then we'll move on here to the next stage. Okay, here we are in Reaper, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how to set this up. And pay no mind to that top track. That's just the track that's recording my voice for this video. But the very first thing you want to do is you want to go up here to the top, and you can do this one of two ways. You can hit track, you can hit insert new track, and it'll put a new track right here, or you can hit Control T and it will also add a new track. So the track that we just added here, we're going to go ahead and name in a while. We'll make that guitar number 1. Okay, we got that named. And let's add another track here. We're going to insert a new track. And this one, of course, will be guitar number 2. And we'll just put that in there. Okay, now, here's all you need to know to do this. And if you see this bar right here up top, and incidentally, if you're having problems seeing the video, just hit your full screen button down below, and it'll pop it up full screen on your monitor or for whatever you're watching it from, so it'll make it easier for you to see. I can't fortunately do it any other way. If I zoom in on it, it might get a little fuzzy and won't even help. So if you have problems seeing this little thing here, go ahead and make the video full screen. But what you want to do is right under this bar, you want to right click, and you'll see here it says record input audio MIDI. That's what you want. And then down here, this is the important part. Here it says input mono, and as you can tell, this track is on left. That's the left guitar, or guitar number 1. That's where you want it. And all you need to do is, you already have this one set. Once you do that, you come down here and you right click on that meter bar, and this time you want to select right as the input. And what that'll do is it'll make the right guitar, or the guitar number 2, totally separate. And if you want to play it together, all you do is hit your effects up here and you select whatever plugin that you want to use. I personally use TH3. If you have like bias effects or anything like that, or something different you want to use, that's perfectly fine. You can also do guitar and bass at the same time. You can do an acoustic guitar and a microphone at the same time if you'd like to do something like that. And also bear in mind too that just because this guitar says it's left, let me show you here what I'm talking about. It says record input, but if you get down here where it says mono, it's a mono signal, so that doesn't mean that it's just going to be coming out of one speaker. It's actually going to be coming out of both speakers, and we'll be able to pan that, and we'll be able to mix and do everything else later on separate. But that's basically how you do it. And the only thing you need to remember again is your tracks is right here. You have guitar number 1. Once again, you want to right click, input mono, left, and then we go here to this guitar here, right click, input mono. And we want to go to the right side. That'll be recording the right. So you're going to be recording 2 guitars at the same time. And bear in mind, too, that you don't have to actually record while you're doing this. If you want to have a jam session with a friend, or where you're just sitting there with two different guitars and you want to play along together with 2 different tone plugins, you can play all night without recording it, without taking up your disk space. Now, if you actually want to record it, you can go ahead and do that. And you can also, if you have a drum plugin, you can add a MIDI track and bring the drums down, and you can actually play along with a buddy and play along the drums. Now, unfortunately, the way that I have my setup, I'm going to have to go ahead and record guitar tracks on a different video and dub them in here so you can see what I'm talking about, because obviously I can't play 2 guitars by myself at one time. But I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'm going to show you what it would sound like, or what it would be like if you had you and a friend playing guitar through the interface into Reaper at the same time. And I'm just going to do a simple, I'm going to make one like a cleaner guitar, and I'll put a lead over it. It's just one of my older favorite songs, just something quick to show you what I'm talking about. But that's pretty much it. So just to recap for this particular part so you understand it, you just add 2 tracks, you highlight this part here, which is your meter. You go down, make sure you record input, audio, media, make sure it's on mono, select left. For your second guitar, same thing. You just right click down here, mono, and you want to make that right. And that'll be 2 separate guitars. You'll have 2 separate tones. You'll have 2 separate volumes. You'll have 2 separate everything. They're treated as separate tracks, and we'll be able to pan those, and we'll be able to do different things with them. And I'll show you that in the next segment. So let's go ahead and get on to that. Okay, here we are with the finished result. This would be as if you were playing with another person, both on separate tracks at the same time, whether you're recording or whether you're not recording. I just put together a simple song that is one of my favorites from back in the day, just a small segment of it. And what I'll do is I'll play it straight through with both of them centered, and the second time through, I'll go ahead and pan. I don't know how much of a pan effect. Now, when you do this at home, it's going to pan all the way to the left and all the way to the right for you, but because of the way my setup is today, you may or may not get the panning effect, but you will get the effect at home. So let's go ahead and play this and see what we got here. And then again, this would be a 2 guitar setup, like you and a buddy or somebody else playing. So let's play this thing here and see what we got. Okay. Now, I don't know, as I stated, whether or not you're going to get this effect at home, but you will
or on this video at least, but you will when you do this yourself at home. So let's go ahead. We're going to take the top one. We're going to pan it all the way to the left. We're going to take this one here, and we're going to pan it all the way to the right. And hopefully you can get this effect through this video. If not, you'll get it when you try it at home. So let's take a listen here quick. One more listen before we get out of this video. All right, that's pretty much it. That's how you record two guitars at the same time, or jam two guitars at the same time with Reaper and your favorite plugins that you use, whether it be TH3, Bias Effects, or anything. I think this is what you were asking me and what you were shooting for. If not, let me know if there's something I left out, and I'll help you out any way I can. Thanks for watching. This is Guitar Hacker. Have a good evening.